Let's just do a practice. A little bit of movement at the beginning sometimes feels good. To stretch a bit or decide what you're going to do, if you're going to lie down or just lay back in a chair. You're going to sit up, going to walk around, what you're going to do. Check out what your body needs right now. And as you're doing that, notice your breath, notice your mind, what's happening in your mind right now. Wonderful how we come back into the noticing of our mind. And there's so much familiarity with that, and there's difference every day too. Some days we're radically different than the norm, other days it's kind of the usual. So notice what's going on, and that's so affected by what's going on in our life, of course, generally, as well as specifically what we were just doing or what's been going on the last few days, last few hours. And notice that mostly what we pay attention to at the beginning of a practice is where we're tight or contracted or there's some kind of discomfort, uncomfortableness. Just notice that. It's natural for us to do that because if there's something uncomfortable or tight in our body, we want to relax it and soften it and just come into that ease a little bit. Our shoulders might come down a little bit, our belly softens, and we breathe a bit more deeply. But we could notice that that's usually where our attention is drawn to what's tight, what hurts. And we might notice that our breathing could soften and lengthen. So let's go through the body. If you want to do this lying down, it's always a good idea to do a relaxation practice in the most comfortable position for you. That might be on your back, it might be sitting, whatever it is. And notice if there's anything else that you feel would be good right now. Sometimes if we're restless or sluggish for that matter, it's good to get up and shake for a minute or two. So as we're, 3 or 4 minutes into the practice, noticing your experience. And then really start to hone in on the stillness. As you're aware of your whole body and the space your body is occupying, notice the stillness. And notice the softness. And one thing that we learn when we do consistent practice is that the stillness is always here. The ease is always here. Sometimes our mind is distracted or our body is hurt or painful, tight. But the underlying stillness is just there underneath the distraction. Let's go through the body and really take our time. What's happening in that whole space? We could start with the edges of the space. Most of us would feel clothing on our body, especially if we move. It's like moving our tongue around in our mouth. We might not have noticed the saliva before that, but we do immediately when we move our tongue. Same as when you move your body a little bit, you can feel the texture, the sensation of your clothes as it goes over your skin. You wiggle your toes. It's a different sensation than when your toes are still. And notice every place in your body where you're in contact with something that's supporting you, like the chair or the floor, bed, maybe. And notice how you experience that connection with your body. So sometimes with the skin, we can feel the air in the skin, but with something that's supporting our body, it goes in a little deeper. We can feel it in the muscles. There's more pressure. If you pay attention to your seat or your feet on the floor, the back of your body if you're lying down. And then notice if you could take advantage of that, especially if you're lying down. Shavasana is the corpse pose, just indicating that we don't actually need to hold ourselves there. And yet, when we tune in, we might find that we're kind of stiff. Even if we're supported through our back, we're not really leaning into that. Let's take a moment just to settle into the support that's here. And notice the sensations through the back of your body, back of your neck and shoulders, upper back in between the shoulder blades. Notice the back of the shoulders as they go into the arms. And notice your arms and hands. For a moment, focus on that empty space between the thumbs and the index fingers. And then bring your attention into the back of the neck and shoulders, upper back, and then down through the mid back, behind your waist, under your hips, down into the back of your legs. Notice the large muscles at the back of your thighs, your calves, your heels. Notice the soles of your feet, your toes. And then notice the tops of your feet and the fronts of your shins, your knees, your thighs at the front. And see if your legs are resting or if there's something you could do to help with that. It might be to stretch or to tighten and release a couple of times, shake them out. And for a moment, notice the spaces between your toes. Bring your attention back to your whole body. Notice the whole front of your body now. It's a quick scan from the forehead, eyes, mouth, and jaw, the chin and the throat, the collarbones, the chest, stomach area, front of the arms, front of the legs. Notice how your body's moving as you breathe. It's so easy to see that in front of the body. And notice the tight spots and notice the soft spots. And then bring your attention to your forehead and eyebrows, your eyes. And as you breathe out, let your forehead soften. And then as you breathe in, keep your attention focused there so that the next exhalation you can relax from there. And then again, keeping focused and then softening more. Notice where your mind went. Sometimes our minds are so focused, and other times they just wander all over the place. Bring your attention down into the feeling of the air as it moves through your nose. It's kind of weird and interesting that our bodies have this channel for air to come down into the lungs. But we warm the air first and moisturize it. It comes down into the lungs. And there's that beautiful system of exchanging the old blood for the new, the oxygen and its byproducts. And we just really don't have to know any of that for our breath to work. When we think about it for a moment, or when we notice it, we can notice sensations, especially in the nose and down into the mouth. We notice patterns and rhythms. Is your breath quite calm, full, and deep? And as your body relaxes and the breath deepens, notice the stillness. Even though there's movement, notice what the stillness is here with the movement. And oftentimes we'll let our mind focus on a flow of movement. It's the movement of the air into the nose from the eyebrow center to the base of the nose and back. We often follow that. So if you were to just notice that for several breaths and paying attention in particular to stillness, what's your experience? letting your awareness flow between those 2 points. And then bring your attention down into your mouth, your tongue, the corners of your lips, hinges of your jaw. Let your tongue soften and rest on the floor of your mouth. Really let the hinges of your jaw soften. You could move them around a bit if you're feeling like they're a little bit tight. And notice your chin and that space under your chin as well. The tongue goes down into the throat. The vocal cords are in the front of the throat. So notice that whole area. And notice the silence in the mind, the stillness in your mouth and throat. And then bring your attention down into your chest. Notice the large muscles that cover the rib cage. Notice as well the stomach area, navel center and lower belly, so that you're aware from the collarbones to the lower abdomen, the abdominal floor. In this area, we have a lot of what makes us function as a human body. We have heart and lungs and digestive system and the reproductive organs, and the breath happens here through the diaphragm. Oftentimes, we feel emotion in the heart center and fear in the gut. We have intuitive knowing, that gut sense. This is really an alive part of the body. As you notice all of that, notice the complexity of that. You notice sensations. You certainly can feel the body move with the breath. And notice your mind. Are you really focused from the collarbones to the lower abdomen, or is your attention up with thought? That would be quite common for that to be too. Just try to keep your attention really focused in the chest, stomach, lower belly. A couple of minutes can seem like a long time when we're practicing, or it can just go right by. But for a couple of minutes, just notice what's happening in that whole area, from the collarbones down to the lower abdomen. And as you're noticing, notice stillness. Stillness is such a curious thing. It's not an absence of movement necessarily. And a lot of stillness is experienced through the mind. If the mind is relatively quiet, it's easier to notice stillness in our body. And come back to noticing the whole space that your body is occupying. Notice what's in that space. Notice the edges again, the perception of temperature or air on our skin, our clothes, what we're being supported by, chair, the floor, the bed. And then expand your awareness to include the space all around your body. What is your perception of that? And then bring your attention back into your body, your breath. And as you're breathing and noticing that, open your eyes and look around this space of your body, this space out in front of your face, all of the space around us is what we were aware of a moment ago. Only now it's alive with colors and shapes and associations with things. Well, that's the clock. It's my computer. There's trees. And finish the practice just noticing that. What a rich experience we have as human beings. Quite wonderful.